Guys, we are here today. We want to talk about not loving, or I'll say don't love your inner child. Now, we're going to talk about why peace is so important in the home.
Stop trying to lead and make decisions all the time. And
you should not be proud if you raised your voice and screamed at them.
no matter what.
No matter what.
I'm Cass.
And I'm Kathryn. Why am I allowing him to do this in front of our children? Why am I allowing this to happen at all? You don't get to say whatever you want to a man and push him to the point where he snaps.
I might have been a really bad man the other day, but today I went out of my way to be a good man, and she thanked me for it.
Is that you always want to act in the direction you want to go. So
He is just a paycheck. What about his needs?
we're MorrowMarriage.
Let's flip divorce statistics with the new marriage.
Welcome to the MorrowMarriage podcast. I heard recently from you that people think we're saying moral, like morals. No, Morrow. Our last name is Morrow. So MorrowMarriage podcast. That's where it comes from. Guys, please follow us. This is the best way to get the podcast out, where we can reach so many people. We're rising in rankings very, very fast. Thank you very much for your support already if you are following. But it's the only way we can inspire people. Guys, we are here today. We want to talk about not loving, or I'll say don't love your inner child. Now, there's a yes and no, a push-pull on this, but I'll just give you the preface and then let's get into it. The reason why I say don't love your inner child is simple. You know, one of my mentors, I'm not going to say who because I want to leave his opinion out of it, but he told me that you got to love the little boy. You know, if you don't know, my name is Cass now. Kathryn and I decided to change it. It was my middle name when I was born, and we decided to change my name to Cass from Ryan, because Ryan was the abusive asshole who couldn't get any action and almost lost his entire life. you still laugh every time I say that. And
He got action, but it was
well, it was,
fear-based action.
yeah, it was terrible.
Yeah.
Ever seen that movie Twister? Yeah, like it seems like it's a good, you know, everything's going around and then all of a sudden your house is destroyed. So, yeah. Yeah. All right. Anyway, so the bottom line is this. He said, love Ryan, love him, and then you can heal. I'm going to tell you something right now. I take a firm standpoint for myself, and we'll talk about loving the little child as well. But I take a firm standpoint that I hate that fucking guy. It's not the little boy. It's not the journey, the self-love that I need to do. It's not healing the traumas. I just firmly believe I wasted 14 years in therapy, sitting in my pain, talking about my pain, eventually playing in my pain in life when I left the session, and using my pain to unleash the beast on Kathryn and almost destroy her. I think therapy and triggers and all that bullshit is great to talk about it, so we can say, if you need to, I don't want to take it away from you if you need to. But honestly, if you learn to manage, say, the anxiety that comes from that, you're going to be able to live a better life. Emotion rules your success or your failure. At rock bottom, I could have lost it all, played in my pain some more, and gone and fucking hurt somebody else. Okay? Just like I always did. Okay? Or I can use emotion and say, I hate that little boy, and now learn the skills that I need to manage, become Cass, and actually the love of our life. Right?
Interesting.
Yeah.
I hate that little boy.
I hate that little.
So
hate
can
it.
I challenge you?
Yes, please.
All right. So if people are told love your inner child,
Yeah.
and you're saying hate your inner child,
Yeah.
which is the exact opposite.
Well, not hate. I hate it's like the whole experience, because the little child blends to the man that I do hate.
So this is where I was gonna sort of ask you to draw a line, is that if you would love the inner child before the inner child became an asshole,
Is that fair? Yeah.
what would you agree with that?
Yes, I think that's totally different, because, okay, I'll even say maybe you're 18, right? If I would have learned about this at 18, the next 2 decades of my life would have been completely different.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm thankful because we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be doing what we're doing and all that stuff, right? But at the end of the day, it would have been a lot easier, a lot less painful, let's say, 20 years of my life, okay? And so I thought for sure she was going to crack an old jote there.
I almost did.
Yeah.
When you said 20 years, I was like, it's actually been 25 years.
just turned 43, folks. All right. So
Thanks for giving me the opening to do that.
You're
I held it back, but you opened up the door wide up.
I like to open you up. All right. So what I want you to understand is this. Yes, baby, that is a beautiful point. If you could do that work earlier, love that child, You know, guys, if you haven't heard us talk about this, this is something I'm so passionate about. You're so angry at the bitter asshole. You're so angry at the narcissist. You're so angry at this person who's hurting you. And that comes from the little child. And if that child was a child, if you saw your spouse as a child, like Kathryn's talking about, loving the child right now,
you would never hate the child.
You'd actually feel bad for the child. You'd be like, what? Your parents did that to you? Remember when you were like, no, your parents abused you. And I was like, no, they didn't punch me. And you're like, the stuff that you're describing is abuse, right? And sometimes you just don't realize because it's not what we consider abuse, okay? And so, the problem with that is like, if just really, by the way, if you take nothing else from the show, write that down. I don't like my partner because they do A, B, C, but it started probably in childhood and all the other crap. And when you hear a story about like a child going through, let's say, sexual abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, being ripped in and out of homes, drug addictions, alcohol addictions, you feel bad for that child. That's the same child that's causing the problems that you hate today. So if you don't care about anything we ever say, at least be hyper aware of that, because maybe that will open your heart up for a little more compassion, a little more empathy, because with another show, but you know, this is how you were able to sort of reach me differently, show me what love could actually look like. Okay. Now, most of you don't have near the battle that we went through. Okay. Near, not even, on a whole, I think, or at least we're not usually hearing about you yet. So now, along those lines, if you can think about loving that little child, if that's part of your healing journey, I can get behind it, but recognize that more than likely, it's not necessarily hate that little child. It's just that little child is, for me, holding me back if I'm thinking about it. I believe you think about the new you, who you want to be, learn to manage whatever pain you're going through, but what's your response like? How are you handling yourself when you look in the mirror? Can you say, I am proud of who I am? Can you start showing up in life the way that you want to show up? That has nothing to do with the child anymore. This is all about your goals, okay? Let me break it down for you. You guys know, if you're listening to this, I love talking about business because we do health, wealth, and business. Health, wealth, business. Health, wealth, relationships. So if you grew up in a trailer park, I just talked to a man. Oh, it was the fellow. We went for dinner with a new couple yesterday, new friends Kathryn made, and so he grew up in a trailer. This guy is like on fire. He's got like, I don't even know, 100 businesses that he's bought and sold, like multi, like I don't even know what that could look like, hundreds of millions of dollars. Anyway, so essentially, trailer park, he could, sit in his pain. He could, oh, my life sucks. He could hear all the voices in his head because he would have grown up with the mentality of, it's just nothing out there for us. All the good jobs are gone. Whatever the crap is you hear. No, the guy went on to make hundreds of millions of dollars, I'm sure. Okay.
You put on a little bit of an accent.
Did I? I didn't even know.
Little tiny one.
Well, you're welcome. And so that's an example of sitting in your pain. And you could love that little boy all you want. He didn't have time. He got to work and he changed the trajectory of his life. Okay? Like, it's that simple. So I think you don't love your inner child, but I do want to talk about. Do you have anything to add, by the way, before I go?
I was just going to say that I understand the theory of the inner child. Yeah. I appreciate it. I know that it works for a lot of people. For me personally, I'm on your side. I think that you need to move forward. Sometimes it's good to recognize that some of the things that happened as you were a child need to be addressed and you need to get past some things. But overall, I'm with you. We just need to move forward. Who has time to go navigate the life that you already lived when you have the opportunity to navigate the life that's in front of you?
100%. I mean, if you think about it, guys, even if you've never been in therapy, just think about it. It is socially acceptable to be in therapy for 5 years and not
14.
For me, 14. Yeah. Oh, we never really unpacked all the baggage. I moved forward. When I moved forward, I did different things. I took different steps, right? And we talk about those steps.
It should be a really good example of why you are a perfect example of why therapy doesn't work. 14 years. 14
years of therapy. 4 with you is what I tell people. I think it's 4 with you.
I think so.
Yeah. And there was lots of work on our own during that. There was a life coach in there, which life coaching was kind of new at the time, but I felt like that was more of a therapy thing. It was. Yeah, it wasn't like what we consider coaching today. Yeah. So, okay, what I do want you to appreciate about the inner child is this, though. If you can go back to what we talked about, how you'd feel bad for the little child that is in the news or the story that you hear, and you're like, oh my gosh, I feel so bad for that child. And you can recognize that that's the child, that's the adult that you're disliking today. The stories you don't like, okay? The criminal you judge. Those of you, by the way, who are judging our tattoos, what fucking year do you live in? Anyway, so if you can recognize that, then I want you to look at your partner when you're having issues. And I want you to just go, okay, the scared little girl inside, the scared little boy inside is the one lashing out. That's why I say, again, you don't need to love the child, your inner child.
Love your partner's inner child.
Your partner's
Ooh,
inner
mic
child.
drop.
Boom.
Smartest man in the world.
If you can love your partner's inner child, that's all that's happening. They don't have the skills yet, right? Think about the trauma. They went, okay, I'll use me as an example. Okay. No, I love yous. No, I'm proud of you. Nothing. No affirmation, nothing other than 5 times growing up. Okay. All I remember 5 times. In fact, my first memories, my mom yelling at me, don't cuddle me. You're letting the cold air in, when kids climb into bed. Right. And so I remember nothing. I remember, here's your lunchbox. Make your own lunch. Throw it down the hall at a kid, 5-year-old kid. Okay. I remember all the crap. No love. Now, I could go on and you'd be like, whoa, okay, I do. I feel that's a terrible way to live. But then you judge me and hate me when I'm screaming and don't know what to do with it. Well, all I saw was my parents screaming at each other. All I got was scream. What do you mean you had an extra apple? Oh my gosh, and get screamed at. Okay? Your dad this and your mom if you don't know because you haven't been taught, okay? So Kathryn learned in our journey that she could love me through. Well, of course, it was later. At first, it was a little more difficult.
Can you touch on that for a second?
Yeah.
It was very difficult for me because I grew up in a very different atmosphere. And so I didn't understand how you didn't get it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't understand how you didn't know not to yell. You didn't know how you just didn't know not to do all of these things. I was like, so
Sure.
It's not socially acceptable. It's not in any way, it's not acceptable. How did you not know that? And so for me, I was so offended by the behavior that I had really never seen before without remorse. I couldn't comprehend. It took me a long time to realize that there was a scared little boy in there. And he needed to be shown love, and he needed to be shown what is normal and healthy. Do you remember? Side note, do you remember when I was like, I think it was right around the same time that you said, hey, we're only fighting every 3 days. This is awesome. And I said, it's not normal. And I said, and it's not healthy. And you said, who are you to say what's normal and healthy? And I said, well, I think that I can say what's normal and healthy because for the most part, I have a normal and healthy upbringing. Comparatively, if you can compare how I grew up to how a lot of people grow up, it's pretty good.
Well, that would even tie into the trailer park story that I was talking about, though. You can decide whatever it is you want. If you decide that healthy is actually jumping for joy 8 days a week, I better fucking find a way to make the 8th day fucking happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that's how dreams are achieved, you guys. So I want to leave you with this. Please just start looking at your partner like they just don't know what they don't know. Whether or not you think they know, we all show up and act a certain way when we start dating. And then we go, oh, the true colors and all these red flags. And listen, stop. It's just easier. You loved each other differently in the beginning. You were also different. Okay. And if your husband and wife listen to this, really look at each other right now, hold each other right now, grab each other's hands, come in close, and just understand that if you can work together, each of you will have strengths. You can lift each other's weaknesses. You don't have to come down on each other for them. Okay. All right. Please, again, subscribe or follow, and let's get this out there for everybody. By the way, a lot of the stuff that we talk about, we're doing a lot of free stuff. So just make sure that you keep checking on our website. The book's coming out soon. I want to make sure that you guys are getting everything you need to go get your life. See you next time.
Bye-bye.